Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One, and today we're here with Deborah, Oklahoma, and she's going to share with us the steps that you can take to higher frequency. And as usual, I'm going to shut my mouth.
Don't do that.
I'll be right back, Deborah. Go ahead.
Okay, the road to high frequency. I found this to be important because I keep getting messages from the universe, and something really important happened on the 4th of July. Everyone was planning to do rituals, and I guess if you know this, Danielle Naniwaya and Okima Love, or I am Okima, my daughter, both of them, my daughter, we work together very closely when it comes to listening to the universe or hearing from the universe. So that usually when one person is thinking something, most times the other one is thinking the same thing, or the other one is able to correct the one that's out of sync or out of order. And that's why it's always good to be in a clan of 3 who's really hearing from the universe than a clan of thousands who are scattered because they're not on the same frequency. So that's kind of what started this whole thing of on the road to frequency. So first, let me tell you a little story about why this is important also. And I think some of you have heard me talk about this entity that came to live with me for 3.5 years. I learned a lot since then because obviously this entity is still teaching me, but it's teaching me in a different space. And at that time, I thought that this entity was in my space, but actually I was being pulled more and more into that entity's space, and I didn't realize it until like when we got to the very end of the 3.5 years, I realized I was in a crucible of isolation, meaning that the space that I was in was just for me, and maybe somebody else couldn't have handled it because it got so intense. And this is what made me realize I was in this entity space, because I found myself saying, let me out, not get out. I was saying, let me out. And the more intense it got, I said, please let me out. And it took me several days to get this entity to let me out of a space that was becoming way too strong for me. So what does that mean? Which I didn't know then, but there was a frequency that I was supposed to go to, or that I'm supposed to still go to, but I wasn't ready for it. So what has to happen is, during those years, I had to prepare, and I'm still prepared to get to that frequency. Now, how do I explain this? Something that my daughter watched me go through. I was in a series of decisions in order to get to even where I am now. It's not, and that's not to say nobody else is at that frequency. Don't get me wrong. I'm not setting myself above others. I'm only just telling you about my experience. And so during that time, I used to talk to my daughter, and I'd say, my emotions wants to do this, but my mind knows this is what I should do. And it was so hard not to do what my feelings wanted, because we do what feels good. That in itself is natural also. So I would make these uncomfortable choices, and sometimes they made me cry. But what I learned was I was beginning to elevate, and I was beginning to elevate here. Not necessarily, although food is important in your rise to frequency, that's not the most important thing to help you get to the level of frequency we need to be to the next steps that this universe is taking us. We have to heal our minds. we have to be able to make the hard and painful decisions to get there. Let me tell you, for example, on 4th of July, we had planned to do rituals. When the time came for us to do this ritual, we were going to do it outside. My energy said, you don't want to go there. And my energy just kept getting lower and lower to go there. So I called my daughter and I said, look, if you guys still want to do this ritual, you have to do it without me, because I'm feeling that the universe is telling me to stand still. And my daughter said, well, if you're going to stand still, I'm going to stand still because you're the clan mother. So I didn't get to talk to Danielle, but that morning when I talked to her, she said the universe told her to be still also. That's the beauty of working with a bloodline that is in sync and their frequency is matching your frequency. But then I want to tell you about another person who spoke about their ritual, and they had it all planned. But she said on her own Facebook Live, we got to get this together, y'all, because everybody was on different levels. Somebody was thinking this, everybody's intent was different, everybody was that. So then the ritual was chaotic. When you have people in this system whose rituals are against you, if you don't understand when to stand down, you intensify their rituals against you.
You know what? I was talking with Spaceman yesterday, and we were talking about the other side, you know, because sometimes you speak in the language of the other side. And the other side is he was like, that's our spiritual self opposed to our physical self.
Mm-hmm.
Physical self, we like to be on the things that are physical, that are heavy, that got some weight to it.
Yeah.
That spiritual side, the lightness of it, the lightness of the sound, the lightness of the movement. A lot of us, we're really not into it because it's not something we see every day or touch every day. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Could you explain to us what do you mean by frequency? What do you mean by that?
I'm gonna give you my layman's musical term for it because you know I'm a musician. But a frequency, and this is how I see it, with a hertz is one beat, I think, or one movement per second. Let's say this is a second, and you got 1 hertz in that second of time. So when if you get 2 of them in that second of time, 2 hertz in that second of time, that's moving faster. And the more hertz you have in that 1 second of time, the faster the frequency of the sound. And the faster the frequency is, the higher the sound is. So my son is a musician also. And so I asked him today, I said, if you take this much measure of sound, say it's a second, the frequency in that second is infinite, isn't it? So you don't have a limit to how much movement is in that measure. That's how we run on this planet. So that's a frequency. So here's why I'm using frequency, because our planet and our people run on a cycle. If you remember, we talked about, and I'm trying to make this as simple because I'm like I said before, I'm not the smartest or the brightest. But I want you to understand me. That's the whole point. I want to be able to make it so you understand me.
I understand you already.
Okay.
So can I give you my understanding, dear old wise teacher? Here's my understanding. We talking about frequency. And the frequency, when you said hertz, I heard heart.
Okay.
So a frequency is a heartbeat.
Yes.
One of our heartbeats is a frequency.
Yes.
In between those heartbeats, all kind of shit is happening.
Exactly.
And that's what makes us the soul people, the soul folks, the Americans, the Americans. That's all it is, y'all. You vibrate to this frequency. That's why everybody
we vibrate to this frequency. Now, what I'm trying to get to here, thank you for making that simple for me. Here's what I'm trying to get to. This planet, while we vibrate to this planet's frequency, this planet actually vibrates to Sirius frequency. So that's why you'll hear in the Bible it says a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. For instance, one frequency or cycle of Sirius, that's one day. But we've cycled 1,000 years in that one cycle of Sirius. Am I making sense so far?
I'm sure somebody understands. So this is what I mean. It has to be simpler than that. And I think that's where we get off, because we have this education and we talk in all these symbols and words that don't mean a damn thing.
Okay, and I'm trying to make it simple, so forgive me if it's not coming off simple, because it's really important that we understand what I'm trying to convey here, because it's going to make so much sense if I can do it. All I can tell you is that we run on Sirius. The people who have us on their cycle, they have us on a 7-day week. Because we're on Sirius cycle, we live on a 9-day week. This is where I'm going. So we go from 1 to 9 to 0, where they have us from 1 to 7, and then we take off on 8, 9, and 10, and that to 8 and 9 and go back to 1. That is not the cycle of our people, the cycle of our planet, the cycle of our months or days, our weeks, and our years. Now, why is that important? It's what I was trying to get to, is because if this is a unit is a measure of time. And remember when I said uni means I got thrown off because I really want to make this simple. Here's where we are. We have got a lot of people whose heads are in the clouds, but their heads are not in the universe. And that's two different things. We need to be silent at this point, because what's going on, the cycle of things that are going on now is a purge. And the purge does not have anything to do with us. The purge has to do with those whose bloodline is to the Anunnaki. We think the Anunnaki are here for us. They are not here for us. And this was in my lecture. The Anunnaki, the people who are under the Anunnaki, they have a limit to where they can go. This is why they use us to reach the universe on our cycles and our frequency. So we're coming into a place where we're going to be able to move things with our sound.
Now you're talking.
I was trying to get there.
Hurry up.
Woo!
I want to know that.
I was trying to get there.
And anybody in the chat who's with that, say yeah. You want to know how to move something with sound. Okay, I'm in for that class. I'll take that. Give me that for $49 one-time payment. I'll do it. Show me how to move stuff with sound. Front and center. And shut my mouth.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet. That's the point. It's coming with or without us. That's my point. And we need to begin to focus on listening to the universe, because the universe, see, Chiron, when I talked about Chiron bringing us into our DNA memory, because our DNA is the same DNA as the universe, the planet, all things universe. So our memory now is being kicked in and open, where auditory is going to be key. This is why they bringing out viruses to attack our lungs, because we're coming into that time where we'll say sonic information. Okay.
I mean,
I really thought I was going to be explaining this better.
I'm with you now. I'm with you now. I'm with you now.
I really thought I was going to be able to explain this better, but understanding it is not the same thing as explaining it.
Oh, you're explaining it very well. I mean, because that's what I mean. This is the kind of information we need to get. You know, we need to hear this stuff because, you know, we're a different kind of people, like you say. And I think that this kind of information is in our windshield all the time.
Yeah.
I think it'll be better for us. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. The Anunnaki, and let me say this. I give these little lectures for $7. You know why? Because it pays for it pays for my little apparatus that I use to talk to you. That's it. And that's not a lot of money. You need to come to these, because that's what you're going to learn. This is where people in that group learn that the Anunnaki created the white people. They were the ones who were sent here to do the work by sonic sound. That's how they moved things. But we were the ones who created those sounds for them, because we are the sonic people. Now we're on a 9-day cycle. So what we have been on a 9-day rest. We've been resting for a week, according to Sirius. We've been resting. So this is how we ended up asleep. So they've been working real fast to keep us out of our awakening. We are waking up now. And now our DNA is functioning and beginning to function more and more and more. But it's not just the functioning of our DNA. It's also the frequency where we must raise our minds. And that's when this being was taking me to I could only go so far with this being, because my frequency, if I had gone further, I probably would have went mad, because I couldn't handle the next level.
You think you can handle it now?
I think I can handle well, I am at a different level.
Right.
I'm not at the level I was before.
But
I don't know how far the levels will go. But right. I will do. But I'm gonna tell you this: if all my choices, for example, one of my choices was to give up everything I own. I literally walked away from my Mercedes and left it on the street. That was a hard choice.
No, you left the Mercedes?
You sound like my nephew. Auntie, where's your car? We're like, why can't you give it to me?
I know that's right. Yeah, but I hear you.
Because it's doing what you're told. It's not because you got to be enslaved, but once you let go of the thing that keeps you from going to the next level, what was that more important to me than the next level? Right. And so it took me a couple of days to get there. I'm not going to tell you, oh, hell yeah, I'll just walk away from my car. It took me a couple of days to get there, but I got there. You know, and I'm not saying that it's going to be that way for everyone. You may not have to give up those kind of things. Maybe, like my daughter, her lecture is why we have to give up meat. You know, because she's saying we have to get to, what did she call it? I don't know what she called it, but she said, you know, we're going to have to give it up if we're going to go to that next frequency, because we're not meat eaters by nature.
Okay, I mean, I'm with that too. I hear that. I mean, see, that's the reality that a lot of us don't want to go into because we love meat. I know motherfuckers still eat chitlins. I'm like, for real, cuz, really? Uh, but I want to ask a question, and I want to kind of give it like a little, like this might be a little help to the chat.
Okay.
Let's take.
I apologize if I'm not. That's never my intent, is to confuse.
Oh no! I mean, I'm talking about. We want to hear you speak. I don't want to hear what somebody else said. I don't want to hear what somebody else told. I want to hear what you gotta say.
Okay.
Because you have that heartbeat. You are on that frequency. I don't give a fuck what they said. What do you say? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I want to hear what you gotta say. When you were dropping, when you said the Mercedes, when you said fuck the Mercedes, I'm not going. I don't want the Mercedes. Leave later. I'm going to the next level. What was that like in those days leading up to that?
The things that I had to give up in my life, it was difficult at first. Like I had to give up my Arab husband.
Your what?
I was married to a Chaldean at the time. Hey, don't hate me. I was learning.
Hey, it's cool. I know. Like say you're going through those levels. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to pretend with people. I really don't, because if I pretend that, I started out in a high frequency, people will know I'm bullshitting.
Right.
They'll know. So
right.
I'm not gonna pretend, hey man, I wasn't right. Yeah. I was married to someone who was born and raised in Iraq. But here's the thing. Even though I was told by my own parents and my own mother and my own, we heard stories of what it was like to be in Mississippi, Choctaw, and so on and so forth. And of course, when you're just living with it, you don't think about how you're going to have to preserve it, in the future. But when we got married, he literally took out his Arabic Bible and told me who I was.
Well, I mean, yeah. So
everybody knows who we are,
right.
But us.
Right.
Everybody.
And so, okay, so you'll know, so there won't be any misconstruction or a thought of anything. This is what I mean. Talk to me in the way those people talk to each other. I don't want to hear what nobody have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. That's all.
Okay.
Please.
So what I had to give up was in order for that entity to get closer to me, because before the 3.5 years I was married to him, I was raising his daughter, I was raising my children. My life was chaotic. That didn't say that my life was impoverished, but it was very, very chaotic. And as all of those things began to move out of my life, I had to make the decision. And it was very, very hard, because not only did I say I want a divorce, when I went to court, he told the judge he didn't want a divorce, and she made me stay with him for 6 more months. That was very, very hard.
Are you serious?
Yes. He was truly, and he kept telling me, being with a black woman is being at home. There's more of you in my country than there is of me. I mean, this is it. It's so I guess where I'm going with this is that my learning wasn't there was learning, and even in my mistake was taking me to a higher frequency. If that makes any sense.
It makes all the sense in the world.
Okay. So, those were very, very hard. I loved his daughter. She cried through the whole thing, begged to stay with me. She didn't want to go with them, but those Arabs had a very great lawyer. And the things that they were trying to do to me and my family, and especially my son, I let it go. I was like, this is something I'm just going to have to let go of, regardless of how much I love her. See, so that was another thing I had to let go of.
Right.
I ended up having to let go of my family, because they truly began to hate me. Though they hated me from the beginning, but then they began to come against me with hate. Like, we're going to put you in a mental institution, or, they stole things from me. I've actually been beaten up by them. Just,
Them are the one that need to be in the mental institution, but they call them on you.
yeah.
See, looks like that. Ugh.
So walking away was terribly hard.
Uh-huh.
It was terribly hard. Walking away from my home and my car, I literally had to let my family go. I had to let a man who was good to me go. I had to, and I ended up in an apartment because I had a nice 4-bedroom house in Rosedale Park. I ended up in an apartment with practically was no bigger than this space that I'm in right now. And my cousin came to visit me. My nephew came to visit me. And he said, I'm visiting you for one reason and one reason only. And I said, why? He said, because if I had the courage to do what you did, I would. He said, I've never seen you happier than right now. And you live in a box. I said, yeah, my mind is going somewhere.
So where your mind was going, I know it's rising, or I know it's moving to another dimension. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that? Where you are mentally, where stuff that you're so focused on what's going on with you, everything else around you just falls by the wayside.
It's funny that you would ask me that, because I learned something about everything around me just the other day. When I was invited to go somewhere with a woman who does not like me, and I knew that she didn't like me. But because I'm at a higher level of thought, and my mind isn't my mind isn't around everything around me. My mind is actually going to where the mother is. So this woman came against me for no reason, just no reason at all. And I just stood there and I took it. No emotion, and that's emotion is really important. Or should I say, I didn't let my emotions lead me or guide me. I shouldn't say I have no emotions, because we always have emotion. But I stood there. Now, there was a time that my emotions carried me to the point where the last time I let my emotions carry me that way, I ended up in jail. And my son told me, if you go to jail one more time for your temper, I'm not going to speak to you anymore. So that's a clue.
One more time.
That's a clue for who I used to be, if I'm making any sense here.
Yeah. That's a movie scene right there. That's a movie scene.
So when I've said to people, don't let my age fool you, I'm truly from Detroit. I'm not joking.
Right.
But yeah, I just stood there. And so I realized later on when she asked me, I don't want to say names, she asked me, she came home, she said, I came out the bathroom and I felt all this anger, energy. She said, but it wasn't coming from you. It was coming from her. I said, yeah. And she was livid. She was livid. She said, I can't believe, why didn't you say something? I said, it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me to get angry. It never, and that's when I realized, oh my gosh, that's what it is. It doesn't even occur to you to go back there anymore. It doesn't occur to you to go back to that level, because your mind isn't there anymore. Your mind is becoming higher and higher and higher.
Right.
If we're going to speak to mountains at a frequency, we cannot let ourselves be distracted. And that's where I was going with this, in the distraction of what they're doing right now. The people who didn't hit a mother, let the cabal distract them into a ritual that fucked them up.
Yes.
Because that's what's going on right now on this planet. All of it is a distraction, where the universe is saying, I want to take you to the point where you're back at the control and the helm of your planet.
Right.
The other ones are saying, we ain't going to let that happen. We're going to distract you. It's either going to be with money. We're going to create chaos. We're going to lie. We're going to cheat. We're going to steal. We'll look at the fact that they literally hired two guys. One was killed. The other one was not. I don't think he knew he was meant to be a sacrifice. He literally put his knee on that man's neck for what? How many minutes? And just sat there, stood there with his hand in his pocket as if to say, now, are y'all seeing this? This is y'all's distraction. And look at what happened after that. We're distracted.
Right.
But the universe is taking us right now at a level. We got to get there. We got to leave the distractions alone, even if it means we have to leave the money. If we have to leave the money, leave it.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right.
And I know that's difficult. I know it's difficult. I left everything and it was difficult. I cried through some of it. And I questioned, am I doing the right thing? I questioned it. Till one day that entity, after I was let out of the crucible, said to me, I want you to go back to that church that you were at. And I want you to sit in the sanctuary. Then I sat there thinking, you're just making this up as you go along, Deborah. And so I got a vision of the pastor being taken out of the church, but it was a particular way and it was in grayscale. The whole thing was in grayscale. So for a year, I was supposed to try to get to this pastor and tell him, if you don't change, you're going to be taken out. And this is how you're going to be taken out. But what I didn't know was that he knew, he felt that frequency also. So he started to avoid me. And let me tell you, this man married me in the era. That's how long I had been in his church, brought out of his church, went back to his church, sent back to his church. And this man ran from me because he could feel the frequency of that being. As a matter of fact, another preacher, where I was sent to him, his secretary, when she opened the door for me, she did like this. What in the hell was that came in here with you? And she cried the whole time. And I just sat there. She said, what is that? I said, well, it travels with me. I don't know what to tell you. But Eddie Long came to that church and he came to the edge of the pulpit and looked at me and said, you got a real prophet in your church. But I'm not a prophet, people. Don't say that. But other people will feel your frequency. The more you get at a certain level, they'll be able to feel it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Deborah, we have a question. Rashida Terry says, what did the Quran say about our identity?
I don't know. You have to tell me about what the Quran says.
Okay, well, whatever you were talking about, he opened up his book where the guy you were married to, he opened up his Bible or equivalent to show you who we were, the people who we were. And,
yes.
And she wanted to know, what did it say about?
Oh, I see what the question. Okay. Yes, it said that we were the original people. We're the original people of this continent. We're original people everywhere. They all know that, which is why they had problems with the Ram, because Ahmadinejad kept saying they are the Yehudim.
The Yehudim?
Everyone knows. Huh?
The Yehudim?
You call the real Yahudim. That's how they pronounce it. That's a word. That's for Jew. That stands for Jew.
Oh. Okay. I'm trying to. I know you had some questions, but I was so listening to you. People was asking questions, and I didn't even see them.
I'm ready.
No. Here's one that you hit on that's very important. Emotions. We take that emotion. I think sometimes we think it's the only thing we have, and we squander it and waste it on nothing. And it's that energy. Is that the energy you're talking about that can move mountains?
Your energy moves dimensions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not your energy. Your emotions, pardon me, moves dimensions. That's why they want to keep us in chaos and fear, because fear opens the fourth dimension. Now we're coming into the fifth world, which is what I talked about in my lecture, coming into the fifth world. And we're being prepared for that fifth world. But if we can't enter into that fifth world in the fear, because that fifth world will operate differently. One of the things that I showed them in that fifth world that is to come, is now islands that have been hidden or underwater are now starting to rise up as our continent is becoming to be covered with water, and other continents as well.
Oh, yeah.
So these places are for us to take refuge. But a lot of people ain't going to get there because their frequency is not, they're not on a high enough frequency to the path that the mother is going to show us. The mother is going to show, here's the path to it. But if you're not listening to her, you're going to miss that path. At this point, I don't even know if I will make it. That's why I'm working very hard to keep myself focused on what she's telling me to do rather than what this country is telling us to do. For example, the mother said, you need to prepare to move to a mountain. Somebody on your show called me 2 weeks later and said, we just bought 153 acres on a mountain. We would like to know if you and your clan would come live here. See, this is how the mother works. You see? Okay. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but
I mean, you're making sense. I'm hearing you. I mean, I hear you. I mean, it's like when you say you take your thoughts. You know, your thoughts are not always on what's thrown at you. Your thoughts are not always what the TV says. Your thoughts aren't always what everybody else says. Sometimes you on that other side, and that other side takes you away from this bullshit, this mundane, dumb shit that we play every day to keep what we have going. And you just focus on something else. No, I understand you.
Yeah, I'm focused on her. I'm focused on the womb. Because remember, here's the other thing that's real important. And this was difficult for me as a spearhead. And I'm accepting it. I just began to accept that I'm a spearhead 2 weeks ago, because I didn't want anybody to think that I'm high-minded and I'm this and that. That is not the case with me. But if I don't accept that I'm a spearhead, then I will either lead people in the wrong direction, or the mother will take that spear and put it in the ground, and I'm not ready to go to the ground yet. So I'm accepting that I'm being pointed somewhere, and there are those who are either going to get on that arrow and go with me, or they're not. And I'm not the only one. There's many other womb bearers and some fertilizers who are spearheads as well.
Right.
Now, I said that to say this, that I have a few men in the clan who constantly say, man, we got to follow the womb, man. It's the womb, it's the womb, it's the womb. But then the moment I say, the universe is telling me to go in this direction, they say, yeah, but.
Why is that?
Because they're still patriotic. They're still in the they're in the universal patriot. You see, this is why this system is a patriotic system, because it goes against the womb. Danielle said something to me this morning. She said, do you realize almost every movement we've had has been male? And I said, yes, and they've all failed.
See, when that's brought up, brothers get quiet as hell. You know, I don't want to talk about that.
That's why I stopped talking. I was waiting for all that chirping that I don't hear. I know somebody saying, what in the hell is she saying? Martin Luther King fell. All of them. I ain't got to mention. I ain't got to tell you who they are. They all failed because if they didn't, we wouldn't be in this predicament today.
Can I get a witness?
Now, that is not to say that the womb has not done her part in helping them fail. I'm not saying that either.
Good.
Because we are usually the spearhead, and they follow us everywhere, including into church. You know, so.
Oh, man.
Huh?
Listen, I'm on the same exact frequency you on. I hear you.
Okay, because I don't want people to mistake what I said for that the fact that I'm saying women have clean hands, because right now the womb bearers' hands are far dirtier than the males. But if I say that out loud, oh, and I think I just did, then you know people will get upset about that, especially our womb bearers, because they constantly talk about I can't stand this nigga. But you gotta understand that this nigga is where you brought him. You brought him here.
Right.
So as spearheads, back to the real point, we first, because I was going to get there, we first have to get the womb at the frequency that she has to be. They'll follow us. They'll follow us because that's their mission. It's like Danielle is taking a doula class, and she said, I can't believe how detailed and intricate they are. Why is it? She said it's just some things are instinctive. A baby comes out of the womb looking for the titty. You ain't gotta. The first thing they do is start looking around for the titty, and as soon as it gets to they latch onto that sucker. They even know how to knead it and make them. No one has to teach them to do that. He says, show me where the woman succeeded. It's not about male or female being the lead. It depends on the spirit. Well, I wouldn't be, if you're asking that question, I'm going to be honest with you. There's nothing I could do to convince you otherwise, and that's not my job. It's your job to find that answer. But I will tell you this. In more wars that were headed by women were won than wars that were headed by men. Men have won wars that where they're working for the enemy. But when it comes to our wars, even in Africa and in this country, all of our tacticals have been designed by the womb bearers. Almost all, if there was a win. And you have to look that up for yourself. Now listen to me. I'm not gonna convince anyone because that's not my job. I have a hard enough job getting my own self where I should be. If you want to be able to move mountains, then you need to question yourself and question the universe, sir. Because that is your mother and my mother as well. But to ask me to debate you, you got the wrong woman. No, I'm not saying that. It's okay. It says the man and the woman both have an equal position or part to play. Okay. Well, I don't see it that way because 100% of a penny is still 100%, just like 100% of a dollar. So I don't look at it that way. My head isn't where your head is. My head is saying that I have a part to play, and in most cases, when a spearhead goes forward, the rest of the arrow has to follow the spearhead in order for the spear to hit its mark. Period. And that's why it's more important. And I said this to Danielle, the three of us will probably do far more work than the thousands of people that got together on the 4th of July. And they didn't have a spearhead. They didn't. It was chaotic because people don't know who they are. They don't know their position in this war. You must know your position in this war. And if you can ask me to prove that, then you don't know your position in this war. You should be proving yourself. That's the whole point. I made my decisions to prove myself. I want to get there, whether you go or not. It's up to you to decide if you want to get there, or even if you think there's a there to get to. That's your decision. I'm only here to tell you that if we're going to move mountains, we need to get to a higher frequency. We got to get on that road. That is the point of this conversation. Getting on the road to a higher frequency. Male or sperm, no, what am I saying? Fertilizer or seed. It's up to you to determine whether you want to get on that road and whether you want to follow that road. It's not up to me to argue with you to get on it, because quite frankly, I will leave your ass behind. I will.
You know what? And you're right about that. Check this out. and this tags on to what you're saying. This lowland prophet say, can we get more specific info? That I want to hit that. I want to get to that. Everyone here agrees about the energies changing. Let's get to the mechanics of how and what to do. We'll get to that last. But this is what I mean. Can we get more specific info?
Yes.
If she gives out the info that she's about to give out, if she doesn't give it out without a warning, because this ain't no game. This ain't no shit you play with. She has to put hey, this is what can happen before I tell you this. Don't blame me. This is on you because you're the one who's seeking. She has to tell you that first.
Yes.
She gonna give it to you, but she just can't come out and blurt it, because you know how you do. You run with the information, don't do nothing with it, don't deal with the people who gave it to you. That's how you Negroes want it.
Right.
That's why it's not given out. Just all first, like you want it. Chill.
So here's what I was going when we talk about mechanics. I will talk about mechanics. When I was talking about Sirius and this planet, a professor asked me at Georgia State, she said, hey, Deborah, did you notice that it's just not enough time in the day? What's going on? I said, no, it's not that it's not enough time in the day. The mechanics of what's going on based on the cycle of Sirius and the cycle of this planet is that I'm going to have to give you this much space. I'm going to have to do it like this. Okay. This is a 24-hour space. Okay. And there's 1,000, in this space is 24 hours. Okay. When I was a girl, this is what time I got up, and this is what time I went to bed, and then I got up. Somewhere in the middle was lunchtime, and you go back out and play. This is what she said to me. By the time it's lunchtime, it seems like we're going to bed. And I said, that's because the 24 hours is staying the same, but the space is smaller. We still got 24 hours in it, but it's being condensed. You see? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
This is what we got to work with. This is what we're going to be working with when we move mountains. The space is smaller. That's why I was talking about the hertz. It's right. Like no matter how many hertz will go, you can get billions of hertz in that tiny little space. We're going to have in this, just because the space is getting smaller, we're still going to have 24 hours, but it's going to speed by. It's going to speed by. So the sound of our lungs is going to move mountains.
Don't feel like you're not doing anything, because I hear you. I hear you. You're absolutely right. So, so a lot of people, look at me like, yo, man, why you being like that? I'm like, dude, what she's saying. We don't have time to bullshit. That space is closing in on us, and
Right.
we can't. I hear you. We can't be.
Yes, it's closing in on us.
We cannot be not knowing nothing. I mean, this sister's teaching stuff. She's telling you she has classes for $7. I mean, it should be jam packed. Oh, since our kids aren't going to school, since that's part of the close down, our kids not going to these schools no more. Start teaching them some other stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that's right at our fingertips,
Yes.
and we have to do it. And here's just one example of that happening. So when they say sisters and brothers ain't doing, brothers and sisters are doing stuff, they just rarely get the support from the people. Rarely. We'll support everybody else. We'll support somebody from Uzbekistan before we support our own brothers and sisters here. And y'all know I ain't lying. So that's why I'm like I am. We playing.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk to Ken the poet. And I think that's an honest question. I will answer honest questions, or try to approach an honest question when he asks the Most High, because I used to be in the Hebrew Israelite camps, and I do understand that Israel, our people, although that was not their name at the time, came here in 70 AD in refuge because the enemy was putting them into olive presses. So we do have those people here. This says the Most High isn't a woman. How and why should he be masculine? Sexual orientations are in this reality. In my opinion, that which created us, which we are also, is beyond yet both. Well, it's a good statement, except that the Most High in this vernacular is not a woman. But the universe is a womb, that we know. The universe is a womb. So I honor and respect that the universe is a womb, and not a God. A God is something that you make up in your own head and you put it on the table and you worship it. Okay, end game. What's the end game? The end game here is that we gotta learn. We gotta start making decisions where we fit into that small space that we're going to be allotted. Everybody outside of that space are the ones that's going to experience the devastation to come on this planet. And there are those of us who will be in such a high frequency, we're either one going to be taken up, or we're going to be able to fight and survive. Does that make sense?
And that makes all the sense in the world, and you see it coming, and you seeing it being set. The trap is being set now. Mm-hmm. So I mean, what you're saying, you're like giving us the play before it happens.
Yes, because we still have time to change it. We still have. I was called for this time. I was called for this time because there's still time. See, there's still time. It took me a long time to get there, but the universe is kind, and I won't say kind. The universe is right and fair. So there's still time to get there for those that want to get there. Now, here's what I tell people who want to argue with me about what the universe tells me. I don't make the rules. I'll tell you what they are. It's your decision to follow them. Or not. I don't make them. You know, don't get mad at me. Talk to the universe. Let that be the being or person that you discuss this with.
Deborah, you know what you look like?
Uh-oh.
You look like you like one of them Indians on a coin.
You know what? It's so funny because they used to make fun of me when I was little and told me I had the face of a buffalo nickel.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously? No, I know you from what? You from Ghana, right?
Yeah, Choctaw Ghana.
Okay, Autochthon Indigenous 17 Act. Is that where colored peoples came from? What was this a clue for us that we operate on a different time?
Is that where we came from? You mean Cirrus? Is he asking did we come from Cirrus?
He'll hear it and put it up.
Okay, I'm assuming you're asking if that's where we come from. I'm from what I'm getting from the universe. Yes, from Cirrus, and our time frame is still on theirs. We're just in a different. And see, that's why it's closing in because we're on the same time frame, but our cycles are different. While their cycle is going around like this, ours is going around like this. This is the herd. This is the unit. Cirrus is the unit. And it's getting faster and faster. See, does that make sense?
100%. I got it.
Okay.
I hope y'all did too.
I really want them to get it. And I think a lot of times I think I'm going to be able to explain things. I'm going to do better the next time.
How can you do better than what you're doing now? I don't get it because that's what I'm saying. You're making it plain. Now, I know we picked up a whole bunch of bullshit along the way, but sometimes you got to ask if that's good for you. Is that Mercedes-Benz you got to let go? You know, because sometimes it is. Sometimes a whole bunch of this stuff that we know and we think we know ain't got a damn thing to do with where we going. You know, and like you're saying, you're talking. That's why I said the heartbeat. You know, what's our frequency? The heartbeat. The heartbeat has something to do with the planet. It's on some frequency or something that has something to do with the planet, and that's us. So,
and that's very important too. The fact that they've been siphoning oil because the oil is the blood of this planet, and it has a lot to do with how she's been beating in her cycle. So those are all the things that I've been taught. I don't. And so when you bring them up, it just reminds me of what that entity that lived with me taught me. Like, for example, we were taught by this system that as above, so below. But for us, that is not the case. It's the opposite. It's as below, so above. So, you know, I'm not going to argue with Mickey G.
Okay.
First of all, if he created mother, if that's true or not true, that is not the point of this talk.
Okay. Well, I will, because that's what's slowing us up.
Exactly.
That's what's slowing us up. Motherfuckers who can't get past that thinking. You know, damn, you see that men come from women. I know you into the Bible where a man, two men create a woman. I know you into that. But no man's feet touches the ground unless he comes through a woman. So why do we have to keep playing with that? That shit is simple. Women are the ones who had the kids. Shut the fuck up. And we got to keep arguing and he didn't create nothing. Stop playing. And that's what slows us up. And that's what makes people like me get pissed off. The motherfucker, you should be past that shit. And we still stuck there, and that's the drag on us. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah. You know, when I was with the Hebrew Israelites, because this entity began to teach me when I was in California, and I didn't realize it. As a matter of fact, this entity, while it was in California, doing very well. You know,
at the Mercedes.
No, this was before I gave up my Mercedes.
Okay.
This is when I was in California and I was working. I had my own home. The children was in private school and just I was putting them in horseback riding lessons.
Oh, shit.
And I'm sitting down one day minding my own business and said, hey, you know what, Deborah? But back then my name was Dee Denard. Hey, Dee, you was a soul train dancer? Huh?
You was a Soul Train dancer?
No, but I did do a contract one of the Soul Train songs for the Soul Train.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I had you're taking me off. Oh, okay. Out of nowhere, this voice says, "You're gonna sell your house in 30 days. In 30 days, you're gonna go back to Detroit and you're gonna face your demons." I don't know why, but I didn't even question it. I did it, and everything fell right into place until I got to Detroit. I didn't face my demons. I got married. I played around. I became promiscuous. I had a whole lot of fun. Spent too much money. Hey, grandson. All kinds of stuff. And guess what? I got trapped in my mission. I got trapped in my mission. And I ended up in Detroit trying to get out of a mess that I made for myself. So for me, in order for me to complete my mission, I had to walk away from everything that I let entrap me. My house in Rosedale Park, I sold it within 30 days. I had to do the whole process over. Sold it within 30 days. Went and moved in a totally different space. Before it was over, I had to walk away from my car. I had to walk away from my husband. I literally had to live in the space by myself where no one was there. No one. But that was my mission. You see what I'm saying?
It's like going through a cleanse.
It is. And everybody's cleanse is different. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, you're going to have to give up everything. There are some people who may not have. Maybe those things didn't mean as much to them as they did to me. They meant a lot to me because that's what I needed to make my living. Me and Diana Ross had the same hair person. I mean, Beverly put as much hair on my head as she did Diana Ross's head. It was just, it was hard to give that prestige up. I didn't have that highest prestige as they were, but for a background singer and a songwriter, I had some clout. It's hard to give it up. It really is. So that's why I say to people, do you really think these people are going to give up their privilege, white privilege? I wouldn't.
But you did.
You just don't give it up.
But you did.
Because I wanted something I had never had.
No. So aren't you glad, that you gave it up?
Yes, I am now.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about this industry that you just talked about. Okay. That Hollywood, that glamour, music type stuff. There's a lot of people, and when you and I come up that we seen and that they were talented, and you probably only seen them once or twice, and you never seen them again. And with this recent thing, with this child abductions, this Hollywood pedophile thing, blah, 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 casting couch, Harvey Weinstein, that's the kind of image that I get when people say they're in that industry. Those people who we saw early in our lives in the 70s and stuff, and we probably only saw once or twice, and you never seen them again. Do you think it's because they weren't into playing that game? They just said, forget it, I'm not doing it. Kind of dropped it like you did the Mercedes.
I think it was a very difficult industry then. And I'm sure it's got to be way difficult now. When I saw Kanye hug Trump, I knew he was saying, fuck, we might get some relief. People didn't understand. He was hoping Trump would clean this shit up because the music business, the entertainment business is full of maggots and liars and cheaters and child molesters and human eaters. They eat people. And, told you some of the shit I've seen, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, it's at one point.
We grown folks in here. You can tell us.
I did a song for Peaches and Herb. This is how life is in the entertainment business. You always have to be prepared to tell a nigga no. And Herb, it wasn't a day went by that Herb didn't take his dick out or try to make me suck it or just touch it. I mean, that's how they are. So when Trump said it's that easy, you know, you can grab the pussy. I understood what he meant. I'm not saying it's right that he said it, but that's what it's like. Women give it up all the time, and then when they have the chance, they want you. You know, they're gonna put you in prison. They consent to do it. They consent because they want to get from point A to point B. Luckily for me, I worked for a man who never treated me that well. I worked for Lamont Dozier for years, and I contracted for him for years. He never treated me that way, ever.
Fish ain't biting, Lamont Dozier?
Yeah. Fish ain't biting. In fact, he was he meant so much to me. He was my mentor. And I told him, I said, you know I'm a good singer and I make good money at that, but I'd like to write songs and I'm not sure how to do this. Now, Lamont writes songs with his fingers. This is how he plays piano. But you know what he did? He taught me how to write songs. He said, this is your A section, this is your B section, this is your so-and-so section. He taught me to do something that if I had gone to school, it would have took me 4 years. That is the difference between explaining something to somebody and making it simple and someone who's making it difficult.
Right. Absolutely. So I just wanted straight, no chaser. I can do something else with them 4 years.
Yes. After that, I start getting songs placed. You know, I did, and that's, you know what? And that reminds me, when we come to that frequency, one of the things that we do best that we need to drop, and it's called looking out for no one but me. No, I got mine. They better get theirs. If I thought like that, I wouldn't even be here because I'm working to get there. Danielle has come into this realm with me and she's working to get there. Oklahumma is working to get there. Another young lady just joined our clan. She's working to get there. And that's the other thing. If anybody that wants to work with us and come into our movement to start working with us on getting there, you can call me. We will work with you. We will. But you have to understand, you have to give up self. Like Danielle had trouble dealing with the fact that I'm clan mother, because you know why? She got a mind of her own, and it's not to say that she understands just like my daughter understands, and like I understand. If the mother is telling me to do something, I can decide to go left or go right. I can decide to do it or not do it. And Danielle says every day that I look at her, I watch her grow by leaps and bounds. And she'll go, wow, you know what? I didn't see that. And I paraphrase, I didn't see that 2 months ago because you weren't here 2 months ago.
Right. Okay, so let's take her. Let's take her for an example. We have people that are 50, 60 years old doing things that they did 30 and 40 years ago. Is it that many distractions where these people just continue to be bottom feeders their whole life and not even try to step to the light?
Ask me that one more time.
So you have people who let's say would be in our age range, who are still. I mean, you still have 60-year-old brothers going to the strip club. You still have people going to the club. You have people not growing and not getting to that spot. You know, if we're here to evolve and make ourselves better, because we can call this place hell just like we call it heaven. And there's more evidence that this is hell. So we're not trying to get to that next dimension.
Right.
We're not rising. We're not taking chances. We're not in the natural world. We're just into all this bling and this light. What, you know, how come these people aren't rising or can't make that move?
Because they've learned to accept living in their trauma. That's the best way I can explain it. For example, if you, one of the things that the universe asked me to do when I came back to Detroit was to deal with my demons, and I didn't. So I partied instead, and my life became even more chaotic. But see, if you begin to like how you deal with your traumas. For example, there are some women that I've seen on Facebook who constantly talk about how men are to them, because they haven't dealt with the trauma that they had by the other 10 men before them, before this one man now. So they'll never be able to get to have a real relationship with a man because they haven't dealt with that trauma. Well, Chiron, that's what the point of Chiron is for. These people are saying to Chiron, the universe, and all that surrounds us, because we all have the opportunity. Let me say that up close. We all have the opportunity, but we can decide to do the feel-good thing. I'd rather party because that feels good. But when you go to sleep at night, you know you being called out of the bullshit. You know you being called out of the swamp. But you prefer to stay in the swamp because it's easier to wake up in the swamp and say, now I'm just going to go to the party. It's not. Look, Carrie, everybody is called out of the swamp. Everyone. For example, let's take the children of the Anunnaki. They got a cease and desist letter from the real royals, not the queen, to cease and desist, but they haven't stopped. They have every opportunity to stop murdering and killing and eating babies and doing all the things that they're doing and hunting humans. But because it feels good to them, they are not going to stop. So Trump, and he said this, I was called for this. He's here to set them straight. And look at the chaos. See what I said when I came back to Detroit, I brought chaos on myself. Look at the chaos that those Democrats have caused because they don't want to stop killing and murdering and warring. They don't want to because it feels good. And I said in my very first Facebook Live, they can't change. Here's the good thing for you, Indian. You can. You can. But will you? Are you gonna let the difference between you believing the Most High is a man who created a womb, which that don't make any sense to me, because that's like saying Adam created Eve. Oh, wait a minute, that did happen, but that's another Anunnaki story, because we didn't come from Adam and Eve. So if you're still thinking in the vein of Adam and Eve that a man created a womb, then you already on the lowest frequency there is for your people. You're on the lowest fucking frequency you could possibly be on, because guess what? It's obvious everything comes through the vagina. Look at yourself. Did you come from your mother or your father?
You know, I and this is so, I mean, do we really have to be there? I mean, it's so, I can't believe. So what is that? So let's talk about that. What is that? When what you see with what you experience yourself, what you've seen everybody on who you share space with experience, they all come from a mother. How do you say that men created that? Everybody comes from a man. How do you believe? I mean, seriously believe that shit and go with it. I mean, and these brothers they're hell bent on that ideology. And these are a lot of brothers who would have common sense thinking, and they just can't get past that. What is that?
They don't want to get past it. It's not that they can't. And I know that firsthand because, like I said, I lived in the Hebrew Israelite camps. And the first thing one of them said to me was that the Holy Spirit told me that you're going to marry me. And he got pissed at me because I said, well, as soon as she let me know, I'm yours. He got mad. They disliked me so much. They held a council against me, the men, because he also told me that I needed to be married to a man so that when the universe or when the Most High give me my gifts, I could turn it over to a man. I know the Hebrew Israelites well. I know them the same way I know Jesus. Trust me. I know. I lived with them. I had to fight with them. I watched women succumb to them.
So check this out.
The same women who hated the bullshit because they would try to get other women to say, you need to have more than one wife in your household. But those very same women kicked the women out of their houses.
Check this out. So this is the dude who'll be asking these questions. So where did the sperm come from before the womb? So
what do I look like? A goddamn scientist?
No, don't answer it. And this is what I mean, dude. This is what slows us down. Come on, man. You don't know? And so if you don't know, brother, you ain't looking. So, let's move on, Deborah. Ugh.
Yeah, I just think that Mr. Seminole Indian needs to go and ask the universe or either take a science class. I mean, other than that, I'm here to give you some information on how to elevate yourself. Period. That's it. That's it. I'm here to tell those who are willing. And let me tell you something I already know. Those who are going to be elevated is called a remnant. So I expect the majority to still ask me stupid questions. You know why? Because you want to be on the bulk of the fabric. That's where you want to be. So say that. Then you're going to bring out the real Ishki, Oklahumma in a minute, brother. Because that's, you know what? Let me tell you something. Now, I'm not a male basher. I'm not. But if you call yourself an Indian and you can't see that you have got to come out of this system, a system full of patriarchy, you know what? I'm going to tell you what I learned about those Hebrew Israelites. They hated for the white man to have his foot on his neck, but they sure wanted to keep their freaking foot on mine. Tell me why. You tell me.
That's interesting because that's a story I hear from a lot of women who were in the Black Panthers, a lot of women who were in these groups that came out of the 60s, that the men were just complete assholes. I mean, we heard the Maulana Karanga stories, these patriarchal groups, not only what they did to the women, but what they did to the children of the women, especially the boys.
Were you done?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you a historical incident, which is in your Bible, Mr. Hebrew Israelite, because I know they read those Bibles, and the entity that lived with me taught me the Bible from Genesis to maps. So I know this story very well. And it talks about the high places. And in the high places, you know what they did to the Aboriginal womb? They took trees and they fashioned them in the shape of penises. And they impaled that woman from vagina first on that piece of wood. And all you could see was women, womb-bearing women like me, impaled on trees, on the high place, everywhere. So if you think I'm going to tell you it's okay for you to keep your foot on my fucking neck, you wrong, brother, because you should be taken up from me after all they've done to your womb. You're not talking to somebody who didn't study. You're not talking to somebody who don't know. I know what they've done to your womb bearers because we're the most important thing in your life. That's why I'm telling women, you better get your shit together because they're following us and we're accountable. But I'll be damned if I let you tell me a man created me or you. Because they know. You think that beast don't know how important your woman's womb is? You need to go back in that Bible and look at what they did to us in the high places. They fucked us up. Period. Point blank. Sorry.
Oh no need to. See, that shit is common sense. I mean, damn. Simple shit we don't get. We gotta play dumb like we don't know, ask a whole bunch of dumb ass questions. And what she's telling you is right in front of your fucking face. And
right there.
And you don't get it. And you wonder why somebody always going off on your ass because you're dumb. I'm sorry. She not the one to say it, but damn. You see in your own eyes, men don't do nothing but tear shit up. And I'm a man. And these are the brothers out. Most of the brothers I know, they doing is the same shit they did when they was 20 years old.
I'm not saying that women don't hold accountability, brother. And I apologize for my emotions. I'm really working on controlling that. Because emotions are needed. They're indicators, but they're not to they're not to be my banner. They're not to lead me, and I just let it lead me. And I am so sorry for that. But we've got to get it if we're going to make it out of this. We got to get it. And I already know it's only going to be a few of us to get it. I didn't crap my voice out. Sorry. I would suggest you go back into your Bible and really look at how this Bible talks about women. Because you have to remember, Adam and Eve didn't come from us. And the way they treat women is totally different. Science has even proven that every blonde, blue-eyed person comes from one man from the Black Sea. One man. One man, not alone. So if you're claiming what I think you're claiming, you're in the wrong group. You don't belong here. You need to go over there with those blue eyes. Those people who woman don't mean shit to them. And I could have a whole conversation about that. And I'm sorry that I let this take me away from my initial point was that we have to raise our frequency. So we're going to have to, and I've let you take me away from my initial point. And that's what I can't do. That's what I'm learning the lesson for me today. I chose to enter into your bullshit. And look at me. See, I'm emotional. And that's what and I want you to use that. All of you womb bearers out there who are supposed to be a spear, take a lesson from me today. Get your emotions in check because they'll open up realms you don't need to be open. Learn to control your emotions because your emotions are going to be used in this tiny space to control realms, to control dimensions. And right now, my emotion has taken over and I'm getting back in place. But I'm going to call on you womb bearers right now because you got to be the spearhead. You got to hear me even if they don't. You know why? Because no matter what happens, they're following us. That sperm, so they say, always follows the seed. Always. If you don't believe me, look at them now. Everywhere they are, we took them there. That's our responsibility. We took them to the white woman. We took them to church. We took them there everywhere. Even told them, if you don't make X amount of money, I won't be with you. So they went to Ford Motor Company. Everything they did was to please us. And people won't admit that. Even down to the fact that we said, I want you to stay away from me right now so I can get on the welfare. Then when they told you your man can come to your house with your 20 kids, that was your fault. You better wake up first, because they follow us, whether they like it or not. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you what they are.
Well, Deborah, on this last note and going out, when you're saying the frequency, what are some of the things we can do, or some of the things that we are doing now that we can capitalize on to raise our frequencies?
One of the things I do, and it may be different for everybody, it's when I get up in the morning and I rise, I seek the universe. What am I feeling today? Why am I feeling it? What do I do with this feeling? What am I supposed to do? I'm missing a question. Please tell me what question I'm supposed to ask you. See, because she knows everything. That's where you start. You start respecting the womb, and she'll give you what you need. She will. And I know that seems really simple, but you know, it's not a mechanic. It's like, here's the reality of the mother. 1 + 1 is 2 in this world, but in hers, it's 1 + 1 is always 3. Because if it's not giving life, it's stagnant. And one thing and another thing, if it's not doing anything but sitting there, it's stagnant. So you got to get up and find out where 3 is at all times. That makes sense?
It makes a hell of a lot of sense.
So that's where you start. That's where you start. You start questioning. You start asking her. You start telling her. You don't question who she is. You're going to question you. You're the one who needs to know where to go. She already there. What do I do? And another thing. This is real important. When we do our ritual, we constantly tell the mother, we're turning away from the bullshit we did yesterday. We're turning away from all the things we did that led our men into the mud. We take responsibility for all the things we did to lead our people into this bullshit. And then we talk to her.
Deborah, Yida Spirit Sky wants you to post your webinar information for $7. Is there a website or something they can go to?
Yeah, it's on Eventbrite. Listen, I'm giving you my phone number. It's 734.
Wait, hold on. Let me write it down. 734
743
743
1708.
There's her phone number right there. She's right here. She answered as many. She answered your questions. I hear you, Deborah. I hear everything you're saying, and you know you're right about it. We keep staying in the same spot. We keep repeating the same old rituals over and over and over again, and we ask the same dumbass questions because we didn't learn from the last time to raise our frequency. And that's where, you know, when you say the space is closing, you're absolutely right. Some of these people are being snuffed out around here. So I want to say thank you for joining.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I really hope I've done some good for everyone. I really do.
Oh, you did. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Sister gave it to you guys. You know, these are the things we can either learn, or we can go and watch Barney Miller tonight or whatever and not pay attention to them, but giving you all kind of ways that you can change your life around. Let go of the bullshit that they keep feeding you. It's to distract you. She says it all the time. I say it. Focus on what needs to be done. Focus on your next move. Focus on reality. And like she said, you can change it. But you got to believe that you can. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Peace.